Welcome to the Monologue by Zibuse L. Kunene. It's a monologue on the video, but it's a dialogue on the comment section. So let's engage in the dialogue. Remember, please subscribe, like the video. Don't worry, you will enjoy it. So like the video and then comment. Even if you're saying hello, I'll say hello back, and then we can engage in conversation and maybe you can share your thoughts. And then please do share the video so that others can be also empowered as you have been empowered by listening through this conversation, or even by being inspired by it. I do not profess to come and sharing all of these things out of my own intellect, but I do allow God the space to say what he needs to say. And it is on the back of that that I do want to share with you this following conversation. From the time Israel is constituted as a nation, so from the 12 brothers who then multiply and have children, and then Israel grows from the time after Noah, when God has repopulated the country, the world, or the nation of Israel through that period, to the time where Sodom and Gomorrah is destroyed, even past that. We see how God, especially in the Old Testament, before Saul, the first king, is anointed and appointed, we see how God prevails, and God is the only king for the Israelites. There are judges who come in between, there are prophets whom God uses, but throughout, God is just the king. And something happens. And I want to say it's the foolishness in us people. Though let's not read the Bible, and especially the Old Testament, and think, ooh, Israel Mara, how were you? How could you be that? We, even today, still behave like they do. Case in point with what I'm going to share now. There's a thing about us as human beings where we want something, and when we have it, we tend to take it for granted, and then we see what somebody else has, and then we envy that. We want that for ourselves too. And so we then chase after that, forgetting that what we already have is good enough. That can be in relationships, that it can be in families, that can be in jobs, that can be material things. We always want what somebody else has. And it's a human nature that is flawed. And I am going to say it's flawed, because when you then hear what I'm sharing now, it's going to all just come together and make sense in this context. Up until and before King Saul, God has been the king for the Israelites, and now the Israelites have been winning battles. Where they have lost battles, it's because something in them or something in their camp has not aligned to God, or they've been disobedient when God has said they must do this, and then they didn't do it. And so God then gives them over to their enemies. It's because they've been disobedient, and so God withdraws his protection, or allows the enemies to come and just take over. And so here comes in 1 Samuel chapter 8, where the Israelites go to Samuel and they say, dude, you are old, and your sons, they've not been so because they've not been so we want a king. We want you to appoint a king for us, so that a king will rule over us, so that when you die, we don't stress about having another king. And Samuel is very grieved about this, and therefore he goes to God and he says, God, your people say they want a king. How do they not want me to continue to be their judge, to be their prophet? And God says, hey, Lawena, don't bring yourself into this equation. This has nothing to do with you. You are just taking yourself, you're superimposing yourself onto this rejection. Just get out of the way. They have not rejected you, they have rejected me. I have been their king. I have provided for them. I took them out of out of Egypt. I opened the seas for them. They walked on dry ground. I provided manna for them. I provided quails for them. I gave them the promised land. They entered the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey. They destroyed Jericho just by walking around it. I led them by a pillar of cloud and by a pillar of fire. I have done these things for them. I gave them victories under Joshua. I've given them prophets. And here they are now. They say they don't want that anymore. They're not rejecting you, Samuel. They are rejecting me, the one who has been their God, the one who has led them through, the one who has won battles for them. I have been their Lord, and now they reject me. But it's okay. Give them their king. But their king will do things to them that they will not like. He will take their land. He will take certain things from them. They will not be happy. But simply because one of they think they have a king, it's fine. Let them have their king. And so then begins the process of anointing Saul. And I don't want to go beyond this, because that's where my point is. Oftentimes as people, and maybe I'm going to start around this, in relationships, romantic relationships. Some people want so hard to get into relationships that they think singleness is a curse. They think singleness is not cool, it's not fun, there's something wrong about being single. And so then they said, oh Lord, I just want to be with someone. And so they keep going from relation to relationship, collecting heartbreaks, collecting all sorts of things along the way, before they realize that actually, God, I am better off without, and I'm better off with you. Because the thing is, God says, I am your provider. And you say, but I want more. I want the supercar. I want the mansion. I want this. I want what so-and-so has. God says, do not worry about tomorrow. Suffices the days its own challenges. Yeah, God, Mara, next week I need to do this. Next month I need to do this. Month end I need to do this. And so, God, I'm going to hustle. I'm going to go out there and do things for myself. I'm going to find this. I'm going to connect with that person. And I'm going to sell my soul to the devil so that I can have this. I'm going to pursue power and influence at whatever cost. Because you, God, are not enough. Your things take time. This way, it's going to be quick. I know that if I do 1, 2, 3, at this time, then it's done. Never again. I know that if I go to that inyanga, if I go to that witch doctor, if I go to that psychic, if I go to that person, they will give me answers here and there. Right there and there. And I don't have to be kneeling on my knees and then stopping to hear whether you're talking or not. And I have to debate with my thoughts whether these are my thoughts or whether it's you talking. I don't have to do that. I don't have to wait for your peace to come over me in order for me to know whether you've answered my prayer or not. And even then, you don't give me the timeline as to when that prayer will come. Do I have to be like a Daniel who prayed on day 1 and continued for 21 days up until day 21 when he got the answer? And you, God, were just letting things be. No, God, I know I can go there. And when I go there, immediately I have the answer. Immediately I can hear. So why should I then go down on my knees? I'm tired. I'm broke. I'm a laughing stock. But if I go this way, and I know that if I bring this to this one, they'll conjure up some concoction. I'll have this, and then I'll have that bottle, I'll have whatever, I'll have this thing that I can, whenever I'm walking around, and I've got it in my pocket or I've got it somewhere in my possession, then I have power, I have this dignity, then I'm good. That people will respect me. That if I take this bath with all the muti, with all the concoctions, then I'll be fine. People will see me. I'll have the power. If I go to the strongest nyanga known possible wherever they say they are, and I get that muti and I do that ritual, I know I'll come back and I have power. I know that this thing of waiting for you, God, to just give me 10 years in order for the church to be big, and even then it's not that big. Even then I don't have these many rich people who are here and I'm still struggling. No, I'll just go somewhere, do whatever ritual they require, and then I'll come back. Poof, I have a booming church. I have all these thousands of members, just like that, and I have all this power. I can get it, God. So when I God just park, I'm going to go this route. And then we sacrifice our souls. We sacrifice ourselves. We get what we think we wanted at the expense of our peace, at the expense of us walking with God. And lo and behold, we have brought a curse unto ourselves. Now you have to keep certain rooms out of reach for people, because once they get in there, they'll see horror stories. No, God, it's okay. I can live with that. As long as I've got my mansion and this thing stays there. But you don't have peace. You don't have joy. You don't have that relationship with God. So the Israelites decide they want to reject God. They reject him. And they want a king for themselves. And God says, let them be. Because God is not going to compete with your stubbornness. God is not going to compete with your insubordination. God is not going to compete with your disobedience. Those who choose God must do so with an open heart. So God does not compete with the Israelites. He gives them their king. And then he says, okay, I'll anoint you and I will appoint you. Go ahead and be the king. 2 years is all it took. 2. The king showed them flames. For context, as the Israelites were leaving Egypt and they were in the wilderness, there were women and children and the lame and the tired and the sick who were walking behind, while everybody else was there in front, the strong ones, the healthy ones. So the Amalekites decided, they are clever. They decide to attack from the back because they were so unrighteous, so evil, and they attacked them from the back, knowing that they were defenseless, knowing that they couldn't do anything. They attacked them. And that made God so very angry. So angry that I'm going to blot out Amalek from the face of the earth. And then God says, as they are headed towards the promised land now, he says, when I have given you rest, remember to blot out Amalek from the face of the earth. And so God gives them a king that they wanted. And that king, after 2 years, gives him a command through the prophet Samuel. Go and blot out Amalek from the face of the earth. Everything that belongs to him, everything that belongs to that nation, just wipe them off, Saul. Saul, thinking that he's clever, decides, no, I've got the victory, I'm the king. So he goes there. He doesn't do what God tells him to do. He thinks, man, this God is so cruel. I'm going to keep the king. I'm going to enslave him. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to keep the best of the flock for the people. And I'm also going to, slaughter and have sacrifices. And I'm going to be rich. I'm going to keep certain people. And just after he had done that, after he had made that decision, God visits Samuel and he says, what has this man done now? He has not done what I told him to do. He has kept King Agag. And Samuel says, what? And then Samuel goes to visit Saul. And Samuel says, what this bleating of sheep do I hear? He says, no. The people wanted the best of the flock, and I was afraid. I was afraid of them, that they would stone me if I said kill. So we kept these, and so we're going to perform sacrifice to God. And Samuel is angry. He says, you fool. Don't you know obedience is better than sacrifice? And God then has rejected you. So at that moment, God rejected Saul. He still had the appointment, but now he was rejected. And so there was nothing that Saul could do. Even if he were to take the best of that and now decide that he's going to sacrifice to God, God was no longer interested. He had been given one mission: annihilate Amalek. Not Amalek and who else, the Jebusites, the Perizzites, the Philippites, just Amalek, annihilate them. But he chose to disobey God. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Even if at that moment, when Samuel confronted Saul, there was nothing that Saul could do. Even if he had taken the sword then and instructed his soldiers to then start destroying everything, it was too late. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. So, the moral of the story is this. 1, God has to be enough for you. If you're single and God has been providing for you, ask him if the single life is for you. But if not, then the right one will come. If the single life is for you, he should be enough for you. If you have been separated, not necessarily separated, if you lost your spouse, and God has been your provider, and you know that you are not burning with passion, Paul talks about that. If you know that you are content in living by yourself, then let God be your husband, let God be your provider, let God be your peace. If you are living this life, and there are others living that life, but God continues to provide for you, let God be for you. Let God be enough for you. Let God be your king, not everyone else, not anything else. Because he knows the plans that he has for you. Plans to prosper you, to give you hope, to give you a future and an expected end. And through your trials and tribulations, God says, shh, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in all the earth. I am your Lord God. And so God says that. God does that for us. And if God has been that for you, why do you desire something else other than Him? God says, delight yourself in God, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Desire. Take your desires, give them to Him, let Him sift them. But before they even come true, God, am I delighted in you? You ask yourself. God, put the mirror in front of me and let me see. Because if you don't do that, you will end up doing things the way of the world. And you will reject God. And once you reject God, I'm sorry for you. No amount of begging, of sacrifice will change things. And so you see that the Israelites then are in that phase where now their king has been rejected by God. And immediately, God finds a man after His own heart, David. Because He knows the way that David would walk. I'm always amazed at how God says, I have found a man after my own heart. David has not even become the king. David has not even done so many things. And once Saul has been rejected, Samuel is busy saying, oh Lord, Saul, Saul, Saul this. God says to him, how long will you mourn for Saul, seeing that I've rejected him? How long have you been mourning over things that God has rejected over your life, from your life? How long will you mourn for that person who died, for that lover who died? They're gone. There's nothing you can do about it. Wishing them back is not going to change the situation. They're dead and buried. How long will you mourn for that job that was paying you very well and you lost it? Don't you have peace now? Don't you have a better relationship with God now? Aren't you able to spend time with family now that you're no longer traveling? Now that you are no longer working long hours? Now that you are no longer depressed, stressed, angry, frustrated over work and you're working long hours? And you're able to go and spend time with your children, pick them up from school, take them to school, attend their activities, be at parents' meetings, do all these things. And now you're able to be more present for your spouse. Isn't that better than that which you've been mourning over? How long will you mourn for that car that was written off? It was written off, it's gone. Let it go. How long will you mourn for that opportunity that's gone? Somebody else took it. How long will you mourn for that position that was yours? You knew it was yours. God had told you it was yours, but somebody stole it. It's okay. Trust God. He knows how to fix it. How long will you mourn for the parents who died when you were still a child? When God allows certain things to happen, it's because He knows the plans He has for you. Plans to prosper, plans to give you hope and a future, plans to give you an expected end. It's God. He knows. But do you trust Him enough? So there is David coming in, and he proves to be a man after God's heart. How? Even when he sinned, quick to turn back to God. He praises God. He dances before God. He's passionate. He's open-hearted. He's just an open book before God. And he loves God. Perfect? No. Makes mistakes? Yes, plenty. His daughter gets raped by her brother. He doesn't do anything. And then the brother to the sister who was another brother avenges the rape, and then he mourns for the one who is killed. Oh, how do we forget that he sees somebody's wife taking a bath? He calls her. He has his way with her. She gets pregnant. She tells him. He says, Ichaz. He says, go call the husband from the battlefield. And then he says, go home to your wife and lay with her. So that then he knows that if he lays with her and she says she's pregnant, it can easily be his child. But the sense of humor of God is that this was a loyal and faithful soldier to David, that he refuses to go and enjoy time with his wife while his fellow countrymen are fighting in battle. He says, yes, my king. He goes away, doesn't go there. He spends the night with other guards. He hears, yay, this guy hears not. And then David calls him again. He says, no, man, go, man. He's like, no, I can't. And then he gives him a letter. How cruel is that? He writes a letter for him to be placed where the battle is the hottest and the most fierce. And then he says, take this letter to your commander. The commander reads the letter and then places him there. He gets killed. David receives the message. He says, don't worry, this is not on you. So David does that. Perfect? No. But he was still a man after God's heart. And all these kings are coming because the Israelites rejected God as their king. I want to invite you to take an audit of your life. Where have you rejected God as your king? God has provided for you in certain times. Where have you rejected him and chose your own way? And by the way, I'm also talking to myself. I'm kind of processing all of this as I speak. Where have you, or where have we rejected God as our Lord and King and chosen something else because we've seen that it looks good? All that is in the world is the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. That's us. That's us, the Israelites. So if you are in a state where God is providing for you, where God is your Lord and King, seek not to put other people above God. If you're in a marriage, honor your spouse. Do right as per God's principles. But that spouse must never be above God. When you have children, no matter how much you love your children, they must never be above God. They must never be your God. Because when you make them your God, it's very dangerous. I hope this gets you thinking. I hope this gets you to audit your life. What are the things that you have substituted for God? It's time to return to your first love. It's time for God to be God. This is Zibuse L, Kunene. And this is the monologue. Only on video, but in the comment section, it's a dialogue.